can account for you. Not permit error. This is all the machine gave you.
Awesome.
Aramis does not permit error.
Barracks, Praxis is down. We're finishing up here.
Good. Without Phylax and Praxis, Aramis will grow reckless, careless. Without her counsel, she is weak. She will struggle to control this new dark power.
Perfect time for us to strike. Guardian, we should get back to camp with this splinter. The stranger will be waiting.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, buddy, what's up?
Not much. Playing some Destiny 2. Streaming on YouTube.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. At least it should be there. I don't know if it's there or not. We'll find out.
Yeah, I'm just, I put on HBO Max and finally checking out Titans.
What exactly is that?
It's on the what do they call the DC access? Usually it's on that. You got all the DC stuff, but now HBO Max must be picking up a lot of DC, and the Titans are
but that's not why
Robin and
the Vanguard has been watching Aramis, and
Beast Boy and all that.
Teen
But it's Teen Titans, yeah, but it's more real gritty.
Vanguard scouts reported that she's fled to the cosmos.
In the beginning, Robin beats the shit. I mean, literally, fucking stabs people in the neck and that.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
That's a little different.
Go to Earth.
Yeah.
Find out what her next move is.
It's like, whoa, you know, he takes some guy's head and slams it against the wall and then drags his face across the bricks. Leave his skin. You know, I was looking for something a little bit more, you know, not quite like very Christmassy, but
by all accounts, it's 60.
You know, just something a little bit easier to watch. You know, oh god, I picked something even worse. I mean, it's good so far, but it's like, wow, it's not your granddad's DC.
Do what you must for the good of humanity.
Which is cool. I mean,
lose sight of who you are.
And eventually it'll lead up. I guess this is season 1, that first episode. I think they're in season 3 now, and Robin has finally changed into Nightwing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not super up on comic book stuff.
Okay, there you are.
This is actually being played from Steam rather than Stadia. Yeah. Figure, you know, I paid all that money for this nice processor. I figure I should put it. Hey, William, how's it going? Figure I could put it to use, right?
So what do you doing it through OBS or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the most basic OBS thing you can imagine. I just have like my mic and audio set up and one source, which is the window capture for the game.
Yeah, that's all.
That's all it needs, right?
Right.
Not sure why that took so long to load, but whatevs. Yeah, it's running pretty well. I'm usually hovering around 90 to 110 frames a second on the game, even while streaming, so not bad. Definitely not using the GPU to do the encoding, because AMD's GPU encoding is awful. So I'm Using all them cores. Streaming at 6,000 kilobits. X264, which isn't too difficult. 6,000 is not much.
Need something?
Yeah. Just trying to get through this.
You got it.
Defeat Fallen, Cosm Drone. Okay. So, had a rough day at work, or?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it was, I'm just tired. I mean, I had, a good amount of help today, so it wasn't as challenging yesterday. I've been really been a real screw up on making my schedule, because, I mean, I've done making, schedules for years, but my assistant handled it, and and I had given it over to my assistant in my other store, so I haven't really made a schedule since January. So, and our scheduling system, I don't know, it's okay. It's just it's like got too much to it for what we need. But I usually, when I go through the schedule, and I'll print up a copy that I did, and then I'll highlight like one color for day shifts and then another color for night shifts. And if I see 3 colors of each, total of 6 colors, 3 in, say, orange and other blue highlighter, then I know I got, enough people scheduled for the day. But what I haven't been doing is looking at overlap, because especially right now, normally it wouldn't be an issue, but we're open to midnight. We're normally open to 10, so I have to move my person that usually works, my leader who usually starts at 2:30 to 10:30, or 4:30 to 12:30, and I wasn't covering that gap. And the way I did the schedule yesterday, I would have been by myself for an hour from 3 to 4 o'clock. I'm like, oh
no.
And yesterday was. Yeah, and it was actually a real busy day. We were up, for a change, we were up almost 8%, and which is pretty good. Today, it was pretty steady, but like I said, it didn't seem as bad because they had a lot more help, being Christmas Eve, and it was pretty. I think they'll have one more rush between about 7 and 8 o'clock, and then it should quiet down after that. People will be doing whatever they're doing on Christmas Eve, and just not wanting to be out shopping. So, but I, just tired and that. But I've been at the store since May, and my people already, they were like so fucking good to me. I can't believe it. I got. One of my pharmacists gave me a $50 Starbucks card. One of my other pharmacists gave me, and a couple of the employees gave me like a $10 or $15 Starbucks card. We only like coffee, Steve. Not a super big Starbucks fan, but I'll take it.
More of a Dunkin' fan?
Nah, I mean, like I make my, I drink. I'm a Javalia drinker, and I've been making my own coffee for not that maybe mine's the greatest, but I like Javalia, the taste and all that. And you go to Starbucks, if you don't get their regular roast, like Pike's is a little more mild than their main roast. But Jesus, if you ask for a blonde, it's almost like, excuse me, we have to do a pour over. which means they hot water over, which sometimes actually tastes better, but it takes longer. It's like you feel like excuse me, I asked you to do something that you don't normally do.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Their Pike's roast isn't as heavy as their main Starbucks roast. I'm not a big fan of the Italian coffees. But just so nice to me. And I bought them all pizzas. Normally, like, we do a lot more on Christmas Eve. My wife and I will cook something, and then she'll do a lot of bakeries. But with this COVID thing, I don't, and we'll do a potluck too. That way, everybody can kind of show taste, whatever nationality, like Indian or whatever, that their favorite, and bring in a little dish. But didn't want to, they didn't want us to have any parties or stuff like that. And everybody's gonna be working; they don't have time to eat. Like, fuck that. I like to take, I try to take care of my people. So
Yeah.
but yeah, just I had a couple of, like, yesterday was a bit of a rough day, and you'd be like real quiet up front, and I swear, man, you'd blink, and all of a sudden the line would be back to the photo department. It's like, where do you all fuckers come from,
Feast or famine, huh?
Yeah. And when you only have,
Varys, we figured out what Eris was
3
doing
people
in the
working,
Cosmodrome.
that's just,
It's the House
and
of
we have 2
Devils,
registers up
or what's
front,
left of her. She called
one
for
in camera and
reinforcements.
one of them cosmetics. And cosmetics one doesn't get used too often, but it's good to have. We pull overflow over there.
And there are many left. Yes.
I used to. I mean, I used to. I still kind of do. I like it when it's busy. But it's probably because I'm a bit older and I'm a lot more achier.
Mm-hmm.
That it's getting harder and harder to handle. I'll be off tomorrow, and I gotta be early and Saturday to kind of switch things over on the front end, which thankfully we don't do what we used to do. We used to like move all sorts of gifts and stuff up front, put it right in everybody's faces, and they don't want us to do that anymore, which is good. So I don't have a lot. Hopefully I can get out of there by noon, and then I'll be off Sunday.
Oh, you're off tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
This is if you've never seen it, this is Destiny 2. It's a pretty fun game, I think. It does not run under Linux, by the way. I mean, you can run it on Stadia, but it's I believe it's an anti-cheat thing. So not much you can do about that right now.
So the anti-cheats really work?
More than no anti-cheat.
And what is any cheat?
Go ahead.
I mean, what does it really do? It keeps, I mean, outside of, I guess, keeping someone from cheating.
So the issue with the anti-cheats that Linux has is these are kernel-based anti-cheats. So they're Yep, I wasn't paying attention. So they're anti-cheats that instead of just running like maybe as a part of the program or on the server itself, they actually run as like sort of like a driver in the kernel, and they look at things like memory mapping and all that to detect people cheating from a low-level hardware perspective rather than from a software user land perspective. And these anti-cheats were built with Windows in mind, so the NT kernel, right? And whenever you use Wine, if you try to use the, Wine doesn't actually have a kernel. It's just, it's not even emulation. It's like a sort of translation layer for Windows stuff, right? So there's no actual NT kernel being emulated. It's really just a bunch of like system calls that are being emulated. The kernel is actually Linux. But the kernel-based anti-cheats don't run on the Linux kernel. They run on the NT kernel. So you come up with you can run into the issue where the anti-cheats don't want to work because they're not built for the Linux kernel. And a lot of games are really using those now because, like, while they're not 100% effective and nothing really is, they are more effective than previous anti-cheat methods. And they're easier to implement from a developer perspective. And I don't know, they're a preferred method that the industry has kind of decided upon, right? So, you know, when you try to run a game like Fortnite or Destiny 2 or any one of these kind of games that use the anti-cheat, they don't work properly on Linux, and you know, you don't really know whose fault it really is in the end, right? Like, is it the developer's fault for using anti-cheat that's not compatible with Linux because they weren't originally making the game for Linux, right? So you gotta wonder, like, is it Linux's fault that they're not compatible with, you know, whatever? And I understand the privacy and like security or whatever issues that come along with running, you know, the software at the kernel level, right? Because it's you know, you could kind of equate it to some kind of like spyware almost, because it does read what's in memory, it does read what's running on the CPU and all this other stuff. Like it's reading a lot of stuff in your system more than maybe a normal program would have access to. So, you know, I mean, will the Linux crowd even really go for that? I mean, I think the gaming folks don't really care, but you know, the turbo nerds will certainly have their opinions, and I understand them. I do, you know. And there's also been it's also been shown that some of these anti-cheats actually and DRM stuff like Denuvo and whatnot, they actually reduce performance as well, because there's extra stuff running, there's extra overhead. You know, so like, what do you do, you know? And you think about like a game developer, right? Like if they want to, you know, they have their game they worked hard on, they have, you know, all the people that want to play their game, but then, you know, if no one keeps the cheating under control, then no one wants to play your game anymore because it's full of cheaters. So it's kind of in the best interest of the developer to kind of get cheating taken care of. And, you know, that's kind of, it's sort of a path of least resistance thing, because, I don't know, game development's already kind of hard. If somebody's already taking care of the anti-cheat part of it, and that's less work you have to do, most developers are going to take that.
Built by Clovis prey, leading directly to the Vex.
And I don't blame them.
Tends to activate it.
Then she needs to be stopped. We're on our way.
But, you know, the Linux crowd get upset because, you know, it breaks compatibility with them, but at the same time, Linux was never a platform that was supported to begin with, so...
Right.
And then, of course, you can get upset that Linux isn't supported and all that, but... And I can understand their arguments on, you know, why is Destiny 2 not supported on Linux, but it's supported on Stadia, which Stadia uses Linux. You know, so it's like, well, how hard is it just to make a Linux version, a desktop Linux version versus the Stadia version? But I can't answer that because I have no idea how hard it is to make a Stadia version in the first place. So, you know, good old gamer stuff. So I've been trying out the Garuda Linux because I heard some mention of it.
Well, yeah, you were actually I downloaded the no when I haven't maybe when I'm off next weekend I'll install it and see how it runs on the laptop.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, there's certain things I like, mainly the type of the stack of software that they're using and stuff. It is very like gamer friendly, so there's a lot of like special kernels and special patches and all this other stuff that they've already taken care of. Which can, I think is helpful for me, right? Because I don't want to go through all that mess. But there's still some, I don't know, it still doesn't feel cohesive. It doesn't feel, I can't describe it really. It's almost like a little loose in a way. Like, like there's, a couple ways of doing things, and like you're not really sure like what the proper way to do things are, and I don't know. I mean, it's a fine distro, it's based on Arch, so whatever comes with Arch normally, it's part of it. I don't know if it's based on Manjaro or if it's based on Arch, but it's a pretty good distro. I think it's pretty good. Now.
Yeah, I mean, I want to try to start the year maybe. I don't want to like